Just imagine this for a second. There's a young boy who's not even allowed to drink water from the same place as his classmates at school. Now imagine that same boy grows up to study at some of the best universities in the entire world. And then imagine that very same man gets the job of writing the destiny, not just for himself, but for a nation of 1 billion people.
Well, that's not fiction. That's the absolutely incredible, true story of Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, who so many know lovingly as Babasaheb, a total visionary whose legacy is still celebrated by millions and millions of people.
So to really understand the man, you've got to understand the world he was born into. And it was a world of staggering injustice right from the moment he took his first breath. Okay, so picture this. It's April 14th, 1891. Bhimrao is born into the Mahar community. Now, in the social structure of that time, this meant he was considered an untouchable. It was a label that, from his very first day, denied him the most basic human dignity.
And this wasn't some abstract idea, it was his everyday reality. At school, he had to sit all by himself, far away from the other kids. His teachers wouldn't even touch his notebooks. If he wanted a drink of water, he had to wait for someone from a so-called higher caste to pour it into his hands from a distance, just so they wouldn't make contact.
But here's the thing about all those insults and all that cruelty. They didn't break him, not even close. Instead, all that injustice lit a fire inside him. This young boy decided he was going to use education as a weapon to tear down the very system that was trying to crush him.
And what happened next was one of the most amazing academic journeys you'll ever hear about. He wasn't just studying, he was arming himself with knowledge, getting ready for a revolution.
You see, his whole philosophy was as simple as it was brilliant. If you want to defeat an unjust system, you first have to understand it better than anyone else. So he took every single insult, every single humiliation, and turned it from pain into pure fuel for his ambition.
And his achievements were just unheard of. After graduating in Bombay, he got scholarships to go to Columbia University in the United States and the London School of Economics. I mean, for a Dalit student during that time, to get to the very top of the academic world like that, it was nothing short of revolutionary. He summed it up perfectly himself with these words: "Education is the greatest weapon for freedom." And that one single belief, that conviction, would power everything he did for the rest of his life.
So armed with all this knowledge, Dr. Ambedkar came back to India. And now his focus wasn't on his own achievements anymore. It was about starting a collective fight for the rights of millions.
Take what happened in 1927, the Mahad Satyagraha. There was a public water tank that his community was forbidden from using. So what did he do? He led thousands of people to march to that tank and drink from it in a peaceful protest. But you got to understand, this was never just about water. It was a huge public statement, a declaration of their human dignity and their equality.
He challenged the conscience of the entire nation head on. He basically asked, how can any society call itself great if it treats a whole chunk of its own people as less than human? It was a moral wake-up call against the horrors of untouchability.
And this fight for dignity soon moved into the political arena. By 1932, during these intense negotiations about India's future, he was demanding separate electorates to guarantee real political power for the oppressed. This led to a huge debate with Mahatma Gandhi, and they eventually reached a compromise called the Poona Pact. It created a system of reserved seats, making sure his community had representation. It was a huge strategic victory. It got them a seat at the table. But what he did next, well, that would become his greatest contribution of all. This is what would cement his place as one of the main architects of modern India. The irony here is just off the charts. The very same man who was once forbidden to drink from a public well was now handed the pen to write the fundamental rights for every single citizen of a brand new, independent India. And he poured his life's mission right into the soul of that document: justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. To Babasaheb, these weren't just nice-sounding words. No, these were the hard-won principles that he knew modern India had to be built on.
And his vision went way beyond just the Constitution. He was a relentless fighter for labor rights, pushing for things like the 8-hour workday. He championed women's rights and fought for equal pay. His dream was an India where everyone was truly equal, not just in law, but in everyday life.
In the final years of his life, he made one last, incredibly powerful statement against the system he had battled his entire life, leaving behind a legacy that still inspires people today. He had declared it years before: "I was born a Hindu, but I will not die a Hindu." This was his final protest against a caste system that he felt was woven into the fabric of the religion and had caused so much suffering. And he was a man of his word. In 1956, in the city of Nagpur, he converted to Buddhism. And he wasn't alone. 500,000 of his followers converted with him, right then and there. It was a massive movement to find a new path rooted in equality and to reclaim their self-respect.
Just a few weeks later, on December 6, 1956, Babasaheb passed away. But you know, some people never really die. They live on through their ideas, through their work, and through the incredible gift of a constitution they gave to a nation.
And today, his name is so much more than a name. It's a powerful symbol. For millions, it represents the power of education to change your life, the relentless fight for equality, the bedrock of justice, and the ultimate victory of self-respect.
So in the end, he didn't just write a legal document. He wrote a new future for hundreds of millions of people. And that really leaves us with a question, doesn't it? In our own lives, in the world we face today, how does his story of turning oppression into empowerment inspire us?
Because at the end of the day, as long as people in India are still talking about justice, as long as they're still fighting for equality, and as long as they're still demanding their fundamental human rights, the name and the legacy of Babasaheb will be immortal.